Excellencies, colleagues, on behalf of the permanent missions of Bangladesh, Egypt, France, India, Morocco, and Nepal to the United Nations, I thank you all for attending the launch of the Group of Friends to promote accountability for crimes against peacekeepers. I now hand over the floor to Her Excellency Ambassador Ruchira Kamboj, Permanent Representative of India to the United Nations, to commence the proceedings.
Resolution 2589 of August 2021 on protecting the protectors had laid the foundation. And today, as we launch this group of friends to promote accountability for crimes against peacekeepers, we complete that arc. Minister Jaishankar, Under-Secretary General Lacroix, distinguished colleagues and friends. Without a doubt, peacekeepers today work in very daunting terrains, and it is therefore very fitting that this group of friends focuses on something that is so existential to peacekeeping, their safety and security. It is wonderful that all of us have come together, and I'm very confident that going forward, all of us working collaboratively together will be able to fulfill the objectives of this group. So without further ado, I now give the floor to our Minister. Sir, you have the floor.
Excellencies, colleagues, thank you all for joining us today at the launch of the Group of Friends of UN Security Council Resolution 2589 on accountability for crimes against UN peacekeepers as part of our initiative on protecting the protectors. Let me begin by congratulating the delegations of Bangladesh, Egypt, France, Morocco, and Nepal, the co-chairs of this group alongside India, and other esteemed members of the group for conceptualizing and operationalizing the group of friends to promote accountability for crimes against peacekeepers. I would also like to thank Under-Secretary General for Peace Operations, Mr. Jean-Pierre Lacroix, and other distinguished delegates for attending the launch of this group. UN peacekeeping today has become more challenging than ever before. Peace operations are also being conducted in an ambiguous and complex environment. Today's peacekeeper is not mandated to keep the peace, but to take on robust mandates in extremely hostile zones, hostile conflict zones. The involvement of armed groups, terrorists, and transnational organized crime has adversely impacted their operations. In addition, disinformation campaigns about peacekeeping missions and their mandates have also led to an increase of risks for peacekeepers. All these factors have seen an exponential increase in the number of crimes committed against peacekeepers in recent years. The data shows that in the last 3 years alone, 68 peacekeepers belonging to 20 countries have lost lives for the cause of peace. 177 Indian peacekeepers, the largest by far from any TCC, have laid down their lives and made the supreme sacrifice in protecting the blue flag. And yesterday, of course, we all saw the sad news coming out of Lebanon and the casualties which the Irish have taken in that regard. Our prayers are with them and for the speedy recovery of the injured peacekeepers. As the largest troop and police contributing country in the Security Council, India had piloted Security Council Resolution 2589 during our presidency in August last year. The resolution calls for promoting accountability for the killing of and all acts of violence against UN personnel serving in peacekeeping operations. I am happy to inform you that the resolution was co-sponsored by more than 80 member states and unanimously adopted by the Council. It is therefore very befitting that this group of friends being launched today under India's ongoing presidency of the UNSC will seek to promote accountability in practical terms both within and outside the UNSC. This group represents the political will of member states, particularly of the troop and police contributing countries, to champion the implementation of the provisions of UNSCR 2589. Upholding accountability for crimes against UN peacekeepers is a multi-stakeholder task. It is also a fact that in some cases, the host states do not have the political will or the necessary capabilities to ensure such accountability when crimes are committed against peacekeepers. It is important that member states, peacekeeping mission commands, and the Secretariat insist on a timely investigative process and help host states by providing them necessary expertise, resources, and political encouragement to make the rule of law institutions capable of promoting accountability and delivering justice. Technology can be a force multiplier in achieving these goals. Comprehensive databases and analytical tools for recording and assessing crimes against peacekeepers will be key to addressing impunity. India has facilitated the launch of a database which will record all crimes against UN peacekeepers. I am glad to note that it will soon be ready for launch as well. Regular monitoring and following up on accountability issues is a must. We appreciate the efforts taken by the SG to follow up on investigations into crimes against peacekeepers in its various reports, and we hope that this practice would continue. The Security Council also needs to keep up a periodic review of the implementation of Resolution 2589. Peacekeeping is one of the key tools available with the Security Council to maintain international peace and stability, peace and security, to practically stabilize conflict zones and move towards peace building. Peacekeepers from across the world contribute to this endeavor. They venture forth into hostile conflict zones to protect those who are unable to protect themselves. As those member states who send them in that cause, it is our solemn duty to protect the protectors. India fully supports the objectives of this group. We believe that this group of friends is rich and diverse in its composition. There are prominent TCCs, generous resource and technology contributors, and permanent members of the Security Council. We are confident that by acting in concert, the group will be successful in pursuing its objectives. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. I will now request His Excellency Ambassador Mohammad Abdul Mohit, Permanent Representative of Bangladesh to the United Nations, to take the floor.
Thank you. His Excellency Dr. S. Jaishankar, Honorable External Affairs Minister of India, Excellencies and co-chairs of the group, my dear colleagues, good afternoon. I welcome you all to the launch of the Group of Friends to promote accountability for crimes against peacekeepers. I thank the Honorable External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, for his kind presence here today and very comprehensive keynote speech. I also thank the member states who have already joined the group. Bangladesh is happy to be a part of this group as a co-chair. We express our sincere condolences over the killing of an Irish peacekeeper in Lebanon yesterday. Only recently, on 4th October 2022, Bangladesh lost its 3 peacekeepers in Central African Republic. These unfortunate incidents only remind us of the need for enhanced security of the peacekeepers performing duties in precarious situations. The UN peacekeeping missions have become more complex and hazardous in nature due to the proliferation of armed groups, exclusion and impunity. Peacekeepers are deployed in volatile and dangerous environment, and sometimes in a very remote place, and they are continued to be targeted directly. We are concerned that the decrease in fatalities of peacekeepers recorded since 2018 reversed. Casualties due to malicious acts are increasing and have nearly doubled from 13 in 2022 to 25 in 2021 and in 2022 till 1st November this year. The peacekeeping mission suffered 29 fatalities due to malicious acts. In addition to other causes, the increasing threats and use of improvised explosive devices have made the situation even more precarious. While we are discussing about safety and security of the peacekeepers, at the same time ensuring accountability into crime against peacekeepers is must to stop or decrease further fatalities. The attacks against the peacekeepers must be accounted for. Though accountability to peacekeepers is one of the 7 priorities of A4P+, still the measures to ensure accountability for the crimes against them remain grossly inadequate. Reinvigorated efforts and initiatives are needed by all stakeholders to ensure and promote accountability for crimes against peacekeepers. Excellencies, Bangladesh, as the leading troops and police contributing country, has continued its contributions in bringing sustainable peace in conflict-affected countries. At present, around 7,500 Bangladeshi peacekeepers are deployed in 9 peacekeeping missions. Bangladeshi peacekeepers have completed 55 missions in 40 countries by starting its journey in 1988. In line of duty, so far 166 Bangladeshi peacekeepers have made supreme sacrifices, and 259 peacekeepers suffered injuries. Despite casualties and injuries, Bangladesh remains committed to undertake any UN assignment for global peace and security. Our commitment comes from the foreign policy guidelines as enshrined in the Constitution and the vision of our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, for a peaceful world. Excellencies, please allow me to briefly touch upon a few points. First, effective engagement with the host state is must for ensuring accountability. The capacity building of the host country in and security and justice sector is critical. In addition to our troops and police, Bangladesh has been sending judicial and correction officers to the peacekeeping operations to assist the host countries. Second, swift investigation into the incidents jointly by host state and the respective mission is needed to apprehend the perpetrators without delay and complete the judicial process with credibility, efficiency, and effectiveness. In this regard, we refer to the Security Council Resolution 2589, particularly the request of reporting of the incidents and preserving accessible database. Third, we emphasize on the use of digital technology, especially for strengthening the peacekeeping intelligence and threat assessments. Timely and useful intelligence is the key to deter the possible attack against peacekeepers. At the same time, use of technology is critical for investigation processes. Fourth, we are concerned about increasing misinformation and disinformation campaign against the peacekeepers, which contribute to the attack and crime. We need to address the issues of misinformation and disinformation as a potential preventive approach to reduce the crime against peacekeepers. Excellencies, before concluding, I thank the Department of Peace Operations and Department of Operations Support for their continued efforts in taking forward the A4P+ priorities, including accountability to peacekeepers. I reiterate Bangladesh's unyielding commitment to UN peacekeeping operations and express our heartfelt condolences to the families of the fallen peacekeepers. I thank you again for joining today and believe this group of friends will become an effective platform to facilitate bringing accountability for any act of violence and crime against peacekeepers. I thank you all.
Thank you, Excellency. I will now request His Excellency Ambassador Osama Mahmoud Abdul Khalik Mahmoud, Permanent Representative of Egypt to the United Nations, to take the floor, please.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Dr. Jai Shankar, Honorable External Affairs Minister of India, Mr. Jean-Pierre Lacroix, USG for Peace Operations, Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, as the 6th largest troop and police contributing country to the UN peacekeeping operations, Egypt is extremely pleased and honored to join Bangladesh, France, India, Morocco, and Nepal in launching the Group of Friends on Accountability for Peacekeepers. I also thank Orlosi of the Department of Peace Operations for supporting the work of the Group of Friends. Only this year, Egypt has lost 7 peacekeepers in Mali. May their souls rest in eternal peace. This brings up the total number of Egyptian fatalities in UN peacekeeping operations to 60 martyrs. And I add my voice to all colleagues in extending deepest condolences to Ambassador Fergal, the distinguished PR of Ireland, for the the fallen Irish peacekeeper last night in Unifield. Allow me here to pay tribute and utmost respect to all our fallen peacekeepers who have made the ultimate sacrifice for peace. Their sacrifices reflect the courage and determination the world needs today more than ever. Today's launch of the Group of Friends can't be more timely as we continue to witness an unfortunate surge in attacks against UN peacekeepers, coupled with, regrettably, impunity. Hence, this Group of Friends seeks to provide a platform for a frank and open exchange among member states, the UN Secretariat, field missions, and host countries with a view to generate action-oriented recommendations and mobilize adequate support to address impunity in attacks against peacekeepers. There is no doubt that enhanced accountability for crimes against peacekeepers can serve as a strong deterrent for such acts and consequently enhances security of peacekeepers. In this regard, we commend the Secretariat's strong emphasis on accountability for peacekeepers in the Action for Peace Plus. Moving forward, it is imperative to move beyond words of condolences and condemnation to immediate actions to bring the perpetrators of attacks against peacekeepers to justice. In this connection, I would like to share the following specific thoughts. 1. There is an urgent need to scale up capacity building support to host countries' rule of law and justice institutions, so as to help in extending state authority and strengthening its capacity to properly investigate crimes against peacekeepers and bring the perpetrators to justice. 2. The increasing complexity of peacekeeping environments requires agility and adaptability, particularly through the provision of adequate resources to enhancing the safety and security of our peacekeepers, including through capacity building programs to host country institutions. Such elements need to be factored in the 5th Committee discussion on peacekeeping budgets. 3. It is important to leverage strategic communication to strengthen trust and collaboration between peacekeeping missions and host countries as well as local communities, and to raise awareness on the nature of peacekeeping mandates and manage their expectations. This would help in ensuring full cooperation of host state authorities and local communities in investigating crimes against peacekeepers. 4. We need to leverage the use of technology to enhance the effectiveness of peacekeeping operations, including as a means to strengthen accountability to peacekeepers. 5. It is time for the Secretariat to operationalize the Security Council request in Resolution 2589 through developing a comprehensive online database on crimes against UN peacekeepers as a tool to show the progress made in advancing accountability and to inform member states' decisions in the future. In conclusion, distinguished colleagues, improving safety and security of peacekeepers requires a holistic and balanced approach that takes into account the different roles and responsibilities of peacekeeping stakeholders. Advancing accountability lies at the heart of these efforts, and we're committed to continue working together towards ending impunity in crimes against peacekeepers, including through debates and discussions in that wonderful group of friends. Congratulations to all the co-chairs, the UN Secretariat, and everyone on the launch of the group of friends, and I look forward to a very fruitful discussion, and we pay special tribute to India, Honorable Minister, for helping us establishing that wonderful group of friends. I submit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. I will now request His Excellency Ambassador Amrit Bahadur Rai, Permanent Representative of Nepal to the United Nations, to take the floor, please.
Thank you. His Excellency Dr. S. Jaishankar, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, I'd like to thank His Excellency Dr. S. Jaishankar, External Affairs Minister of India, for his key address at this launching of this group of friends. We are honored to have Mr. Minister at this very launching event of this group of friends. Excellencies, dear colleagues, let me take this opportunity to pay tribute to all the fallen peacekeepers who have sacrificed their lives for the noble cause of peace and security. Peacekeeping data suggest that more than 1,100 peacekeepers have lost their lives and more than 3,000 have been injured due to malicious acts to this date. However, very few of them have been investigated, and fewer have been convicted, and even fewer have been prosecuted. The repeated fatalities throughout the history of UN peacekeeping relentlessly remind us that how dangerous the peacekeeping mission has become as they are deployed in a deteriorating and complex political and security environment. It is the very reason why accountability should be ensured and why the safety and security of peacekeepers should be promoted. There would have been no other opportune time than now for launching this group. It is not least because of the increasing targeted attack against peacekeepers, such as in Mali and DR Congo and elsewhere recently. Lack of the investigations of crimes and criminal accountability have greatly undermined the safety and security of the peacekeepers, let alone their morality and motivation. And the lack of accountability for the crimes against peacekeepers, in fact, destabilizes the very foundation of UN peacekeeping operations. Dear colleagues, it is the primary responsibility of the host government as part of the status of force agreement to investigate and hold the perpetrators accountable for crimes against peacekeepers. The host government should have a political willingness and should abide by the status of force agreement, which is absolutely important for the safety and security of peacekeepers. The United Nations and other stakeholders should also provide effective and coherent support to host the state's law enforcement agencies and courts to ensure accountability for crimes against peacekeepers, including by enhancing their technical capacity to investigate, convict, and prosecute. Appropriate measures should be taken to prevent and reduce the risk of crimes by addressing threats and risk factors on time. Lack of intelligence, restrictions in the deployment of equipment and personnel, as well as infringing the freedom of movement, make peacekeepers highly vulnerable from such crime. Adequate resources and capacities should be ensured, and protective measures are a must in high-risk areas, along with provision of effective casualty and medical evacuation, as well as resourced hospital. In this regard, Nepal supports normative frameworks on accountability, including UNSC Resolution 2518 and 2589. We are supportive of commitments enlisted in A4P and A4P Plus strategy. We take this opportunity to appreciate the initiatives taken by the Secretariat to create a database of peacekeepers who lost their lives due to malicious acts. We believe this group of friends will leverage further cooperation in synergizing and streamlining of efforts to establish accountability, justice, and rule of law. I thank all member states and other stakeholders for joining us for this cause today, and we are looking forward to working closely with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. I will now request Her Excellency Ambassador Nathalie Broadhurst, Deputy Permanent Representative of France to the United Nations, to take the floor, please.
Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, I welcome the participation of His Excellency Subramanian Jaishankar to this meeting, and I also welcome the presence of USG Jean-Pierre Lacroix and the participation of all member states that have joined the group of friends today. I will make 3 brief points. First, please be allowed to pay tribute to the men and women in uniform that have made the ultimate sacrifice in the pursuit of peace. Following last night's incidents in Lebanon, I express my deepest condolences to the family of the fallen peacekeeper and to the government of Ireland. I wish a speedy recovery to the injured. Peacekeepers are deployed in demanding environments and they face increasingly complex threats. They also abide by the highest standards of conduct and discipline. In this regard, we support the Action for Peacekeeping Plus initiative that recognizes accountability of and to peacekeepers as two sides of the same coin. Peacekeepers also act with the authority vested in them by the Security Council. As such, we have a shared responsibility to promote accountability for the crimes committed against peacekeepers. This duty lies first and foremost with the host states of peacekeeping operations. Host states should systematically and unequivocally condemn, investigate, and prosecute any violence against the peacekeepers. In this regard, we are concerned by the weakening of political support from some host states of peacekeeping operation, and even in some cases by challenges to their freedom of movement and to their security. We are committed to strengthening the capacities of host states that are cooperative. Building strong justice sectors is essential to fight against impunity to the crimes committed against peacekeepers and beyond. Many peacekeeping operations are mandated to do so, as you know. We also hope that this group of friends will be an opportunity to step up the cooperation, including to listen to the needs in terms of capacity building. We are convinced that this dialogue between host states and troop and police contributing countries is absolutely essential in the pursuit of the implementations of the mandates of the operations. We will continue to support this objective both in the C-34 and in the Security Council. And I thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. I will now request Deputy Permanent Representative of Morocco, Mr. Omar Kadiri, to take the floor, please.
Your Excellency, Dr. S. Jai Shankar, Honorable Minister of External Affairs of India. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to welcome you to the launch of the Group of Friends to Promote Accountability for Crimes Against Peacekeepers that my country has the privilege to co-chair along Bangladesh, Egypt, France, India, and Nepal. I would like to pay tribute to the leadership played by India on this extremely important issue. I would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate India for its successful term in the UN Security Council for 21-22 and for its presidency of the Council this month. Serving the cause of peace in the world is certainly an honorable task, but also a considerably challenging one. The fact that UN peacekeepers are at risk of attacks when deployed is sadly well known, and one that has happened in UN peacekeeping operations from the outset. Yet, our blue helmets continue to carry out their tasks in the service of UN ideals courageously, but in an increasingly hostile context. Recent reports and images from some theaters where peacekeeping operations are deployed show continued escalation of malicious and unlawful attacks against UN peacekeepers. Also, the dissemination of misinformation and disinformation against peacekeeping missions play an important and sad role in inciting aggressive behavior targeted to UN personnel and peacekeepers. Unfortunately, since 1948, at least 4,267 blue helmets lost their lives in the line of duty, of which 93 in 2022, with more than 28% due to malicious acts. Also, thousands of peacekeepers were injured due to these malicious acts. Today, we pay tribute to them and to all our honorable peacekeepers who made the ultimate sacrifice in the defense of the noblest of all causes, peace, and we reiterate that every life lost is one too many, and so is the injury to any peacekeeper. We are deeply convinced that honoring our brave UN peacekeepers' memory also requires ensuring that perpetrators of these attacks and crimes are held accountable and fully responsible and brought to justice. In this context, we welcome the shared commitment of the Action for Peacekeeping Initiative, A4P, and its implementation plan, A4P+, which both prioritize bringing to justice perpetrators of criminal acts against UN personnel. We also welcome the adoption of UN Security Council 2589 in 2021, which received an overwhelming support by member states that calls upon host states of UN peacekeeping operations, past and present, to take all appropriate measures against perpetrators of crimes against UN personnel. We are encouraged by the important steps taken to ensure the implementation of the existing guidance and enhance accountability for crimes against peacekeepers. One example is the establishment by the Secretariat of a strategic action plan to address crimes against peacekeepers, of which objectives include reinforcing political advocacy and information sharing, as well as support to host countries and capacities at headquarters. This has led to a significant increase in the number of alleged perpetrators identified or detained and confirmed investigative measures by national authorities over the last few years. However, more and much more needs to be done by all stakeholders to ensure that all those responsible for crimes against peacekeepers are held to account for the heinous crimes and that impunity cannot have its place. Also, countries in conflicts need to receive the necessary support and technical assistance to build capacity to bring all perpetrators to justice. The Kingdom of Morocco participating since 1960 in 4 peacekeeping operations, including in 5 current peacekeeping operations with more than 74,000 peacekeepers, of which, unfortunately, more than 60 lost their lives in line of duty, including 5 in malicious attacks in 2022 only. We strongly condemn this. We strongly commend the improvement that has been made in order to bring all perpetrators to justice. But we remain convinced that more needs to be done to ensure that justice is always served. To this end, we are honored by the launching of this group of friends, which aims to provide a key platform to promote accountability for crimes against peacekeepers by, inter alia, ensuring the consistent and sustained engagement of the international community in support of the fight against impunity for such crimes, and encouraging dialogue, coordination and cooperation to make sure that perpetrators no longer get away with their crimes. As Morocco is continuing to strengthen its commitment to end peacekeeping operations, it has always been and will continue to be a firm advocate for an active contributor to efforts aimed at fighting impunity and strengthening accountability. Our commitment stems from our deep convictions that the values of good governance, respect for the rule of law and for human rights are core pillars for peaceful, just and inclusive societies. As such, and as a proud co-chair of this group of friends, we will also remain supportive of all efforts aimed at building capacity of institutions and extending state authority, including to ensure justice for crimes against blue helmets. We look forward to partnering with you because our endeavor requires sustained commitment to which continuous efforts and concrete actions give substance. Morocco, under the high instructions of His Majesty King Mohammed VI, Supreme Commander and Chief of the General Staff of the Royal Armed Forces, will continue strengthening its support and contribution to the cause of peace, to the cause of world peace, and to the UN PKOs. Our peacekeepers following the service of the UN principles and objectives are heroes. May those who lost their lives rest in eternal peace, and may those injured enjoy full recovery. And I end by sending all, of course, our sympathy and our condolences to our colleagues from Ireland for the loss of their peacekeeper yesterday. I thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your remarks. I now invite Under-Secretary General, Department of Peace Operations, Mr. Jean-Pierre Lacroix, to share his thoughts, please.
Thank you very much. Minister Jai Shankar, Excellencies, representative of the co-chairs, Excellencies, distinguished delegates and colleagues. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today, alongside with my colleagues Michael Kitevi from the Department of Operational Support. I wish to recognize the presence here today of representatives from several troop and police contributing countries whose personnel have been killed or injured while serving United Nations peacekeeping operations. We honor the memories of the deceased, and of course we will never forget their sacrifice. Minister Jai Shankar, we are very grateful for your participation in this meeting, and your presence here today is a manifestation of India's strong commitment to promote accountability for crimes against peacekeepers. I would also like to pay tribute to the UNIFIL peacekeeper who was killed yesterday in a tragic incident, and to echo the Secretary General's condolences to his family as well as to the people and the Government of Ireland. And we wish his 3 fellow peacekeepers who were injured a speedy recovery. Minister, Excellencies, dear delegates, since 1948, 1,056 personnel serving in United Nations peacekeeping operations have been killed and 3,080 injured as a result of malicious acts. The previous speakers have referred to malicious acts perpetrated against peacekeepers from their countries, resulting in many cases in fatalities. We were unfortunately reminded of the continued importance of this issue on the 10th of October, when 4 of our MINUSMA colleagues from Chad were killed due to the explosion of an IED in Tessalit, Mali. Sadly, since the 26th of July, 4 MINUSCA peacekeepers from India, Morocco, and Pakistan, and 3 MINUSCA peacekeepers from Bangladesh have been killed as a result of malicious acts in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the Central African Republic. 29 peacekeepers have died in such circumstances since the beginning of this year. We extend our deepest condolences to the governments and families of those who have fallen. Unfortunately, very few of those responsible for such crimes have been brought to justice. This impunity remains largely the norm. However, notable progress has been made since 2019 in the Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Mali, with an increase in the number of alleged perpetrators identified and detained, and an increase in the percentage of cases with confirmed national investigations. Most importantly, 66 individuals have been convicted since 2019 in the Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Lebanon, and Mali for the killing of United Nations peacekeepers. I would like to reiterate the fundamental message that we have conveyed in many fora. Holding perpetrators of crimes against peacekeepers accountable is a key element of the United Nations efforts to improve the safety and security of peacekeepers, which is one of the key priorities of the Secretary General's Action for Peacekeeping Initiative and its implementation plan, A4P+. On the 30th of March 2020, the Security Council adopted Resolution 2518 on the safety and security of peacekeepers, which calls, and I quote, on all member states hosting peacekeeping operations to promptly investigate and effectively prosecute those responsible for attacks on United Nations personnel. Furthermore, on the 18th of August 2021, the Security Council unanimously adopted Resolution 2589 on strengthening accountability for crimes committed against peacekeepers, which calls for a renewed focus on measures to bring to justice the perpetrators of acts of violence against UN personnel serving in peacekeeping operations. It should be emphasized here that the primary responsibility for bringing the perpetrators of such acts to justice lies with the host states. The United Nations has and will continue to undertake a number of actions to pursue accountability for these crimes, and we continue to prioritize our support to the Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Mali, as these are the 3 countries where most fatalities resulting from malicious acts have occurred since 1st January 2013. A working group on accountability for serious crimes against peacekeepers have been convening since April 29 as part of our efforts to support host countries in the investigation and prosecution of serious crimes against peacekeepers. Despite this recent progress, important challenges to ensuring accountability for the killing of peacekeepers and other serious crimes committed against UN personnel remain. These crimes are often committed in areas where the authority of the state may be limited and national law enforcement personnel may be absent. This often creates serious challenges for the security of witnesses as well as for the collection and preservation of evidence. The rotation of personnel who should otherwise be available to testify as witnesses and their subsequent availability once they're repatriated can also be problematic. These challenges are further compounded in some instances by the absence of political will to pursue these cases. As we move ahead, it is critical first and foremost for countries hosting such operations to bring the perpetrators of these crimes to justice in accordance with their international obligations. It should be recalled that this responsibility is outlined in status of force or status of mission agreements, in addition to other instruments. Second, the international community's support is indispensable to achieving success. This can take the form of political support as well as assistance to host countries through the provision of technical and material assistance based on national plans and priorities. The field missions have an important support role in this regard within their mandated responsibilities, but support from other member states is essential. This includes the deployment of specialized personnel who can assist national authorities in the investigation and prosecution of these cases. I would like to express my thanks to all member states that have contributed to this initiative thus far and encourage your contributions to the DPO-TOS appeal. Third, your continued advocacy is vital. In this context, the Department of Peace Operations strongly welcomes the official launch of the Group of Friends to promote accountability for crimes against peacekeepers. We believe that this will be a key mechanism to promote accountability and facilitate capacity building and technical assistance to host state authorities. We will fully support this mechanism, including as part of its responsibilities to monitor progress and by serving at its secretariat. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Excellency, for your insights and for your endorsement of the group. The Minister now has to proceed for his next engagement. Thank you, Excellency, for gracing the launch of the Group of Friends.